Okay, I am the Chair, Jim Bray, and I am officially opening the EAC meeting for June 13th, 2024. As you know, that the format has changed, and under Pennsylvania municipal law, no longer can we have a totally hybrid meeting. So we don't have all the equipment yet, according to Dave, that we need to do it independently. So Dave will be helping us for the next couple of meetings. But the idea is that people should attend the meeting if for some reason they're out of town or they can't for a variety of other reasons, then they can actually join the meeting via Zoom. So the first item on the agenda tonight is a review approval of May 9th, 2024 meeting minutes. They were sent to everybody. I looked at them. We made some minor revisions, but I think they're fine. If anybody doesn't have any issues with it, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Okay, so Kevin moved to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting minutes for May 9th, 2024 are officially adopted. The second item on the agenda is the 2024 Long-Range Master Tree Plan. So Alan and I attended a meeting on 6/6 with Jim Majewski and Dave Kratzer on a variety of topics, and the 2024 tree plan was one of the main topics that we discussed. Before the meeting started today, Jim Majewski just printed out a new set of township location maps that incorporated just about everything that we had talked about in the meeting. And during that meeting, we, tended for some notes about specific changes and additions. And right now, I think about 98% of that is all done. According to Jim, there's a couple of minor items that have to be taken care of. But when all these changes have been incorporated, the number of trees right now in the plan is probably around 900 or so, and we will probably adding another couple of hundred for reserve trees. And as far as the shrubs and the perennials are concerned, whatever shortfall there is in reaching the initial goal was 1,245 shrubs and 1,500 perennials. Whatever the shortfall is will be made up by reserve plantings. So I think, this is very positive what's happening, and I think we'll have, in a week or two, everything finalized and ready for a vote in the next meeting in July. Alan's done a lot of work on this, too. You have some input for us, Alan?
Well, I was just wondering if there's going to be a cover page and a table of contents and maybe just a brief summary of what it's all about, a paragraph, nothing much, and then maybe some totals of the trees being planted and shrubs, things like that.
Yeah, when I talked to Jim before, I did the analytical work on the plan basically by hand, adding up, how many trees and all this kind of stuff, and by species. But Jim said that he can handle that mechanically now, and he's going to take care of that for us as well. And what we're going to have is what I think is an excellent idea for any makeup or reserve type trees or shrubs or perennials. We're going to have one master sheet that shows the map of the whole township. And on that map, it'll say, okay, general reserve trees, X number, shrubs, X number, and perennials, X number. So I think this will accomplish exactly what we want to have done. As far as the an initial, introduction. Jim, is that something you would want to take care of?
Sure. One of the things that you guys have seen the prior plan, we did add in all the trees that were planted in the 2023 plan, and we tallied those up because it's sort of part of this long-range plan, although it's sort of already enacted. And let me just share my screen with you real quickly, and we can go from there. So you may recall we had on the plan that was presented to you last year, I believe in October and November, the plantings in a number of different parks and basins. Here's the one from Memorial Park. It's been updated to incorporate all the trees that were planted as part of the 2023 fall planting. We itemized those number of trees and put it in the chart. We showed the trees that Tom Committa had on that plan that had not been planted as part of the fall planting, and also incorporated in some of the trees that were kind of hanging out there still from the 2016 plan. That 2016 plan contemplated trees around the parking areas on the west side of the park. So we've now incorporated 18 shade trees in and around the parking area, in addition to some more of the sour woods around the basketball courts. So basically, we'll have this planted out. I know Jim Bray had mentioned maybe some trees around the path. You don't see them very well on this picture, but the arboretum trees actually are extensive throughout the park. There's a whole bunch of trees up in the north end. There's trees along this bend, down along the property line, all the way around the path. So our arboretum kind of takes care of a lot of the shade trees going forward in that area. There are also trees around the playground. They're just not grown up quite enough yet that they really pop out on the aerial photo. And you may recall we had some other locations like Community Park, which encompasses the pool, a plan to ultimately replace the trees that are along Edgewood Road. We have the Bradford pears over by the library. The long-term plan, not immediate, is to replace those. And there's also cherry trees that are getting kind of old and mature along the pool parking lot that eventually, as they die out, we can replace with native trees in that area. We did look at trees along the bike path area, along the Stoddard Field, across the street from the Township building. And there is adequate room to put in a number of trees. There's actually a force main that comes down through this area that we just have to be careful of. We couldn't put much more in the way of trees there. In and around the whole baseball fields across from the Township building, there's all sorts of utilities, electric and sewer running every direction. So this is about the limit of what we could plant, in addition to those already planted in prior plantings, which you may now notice if you go across the street, some of that volunteer planting from about 3 years ago, those trees are now starting to get pretty mature. Over at the Fred Allen softball complex, we took that, showed all of the plantings that were done in the 2023 planting. That's probably about 40 or 50 trees, I forget the number. You can add them up if you want to. In addition to some additional trees spread throughout. Baseball or softball actually utilizes some of these areas for practice, so we couldn't go too extensive along this whole area because the leaf litter does interfere with the fields. It does interfere with people throwing the ball around and everything, but providing some shade for people who are coming to watch the ball fields, Tom Committa thought was pretty important thing to have. So we added trees, not as many as I know the EAC had hoped, but there's constraints there. In the future, as we look at operational aspects, we could always add more trees. And to Jim Bray's point and Alan Dresser's point, We will have an overall map showing all the areas in the township with adequate notes talking about when areas crop up, we could add those to the plan and put those trees in reserve so that, the area, and I'll show it in a little bit, the area at Stony Hill Road and Bluestone Road, we had to take out all the trees in there. They were all ash trees. They were all dead, diseased, and dying. And when I get to that, I'll show you real quickly. It's something. Oh, also, Kiowa Fields, we also showed the trees we planted there. There, I believe there were 34 trees we had planted, sort of to extend the buffer that had already existed along Kiowa, to sort of plan out that ultimate planting that we envisioned along the fields. There's a tough area along the bike path and the slope that we didn't show any trees. We kind of haven't figured out how we're going to plant trees in there. You have the bike path, the slope, and the field, and there's that little gap in here is kind of tough to fill in. And we are proposing a couple of trees along the main roadway to sort of add street trees along Oxford Valley Road. Patterson Farm, we talked about with Tom Committa. I know we talked about adding more than just the 21 trees they had shown. So in this case, we put a note on there to reserve some small trees and also shrubs in that area. I know there's invasive species in there, and we really need to clear out the invasives to do a more thorough, almost like a stream restoration plan, which may be part of a future pollution reduction plan. We get to that point. But we added that to the plan as reserve, so people are aware that we do have trees in reserve to be paid for out of the tree bank for when we ultimately do sort of restore that stream corridor in there. And those, you can't really see it on here, but there's also those 35 trees or 25 trees, I forget the number, that are now coming in quite nicely along Mirror Lake Road that were planted, I think it was last spring.
Yeah, we refer to that as Maple Row at Patterson Farm. There were 30 trees, and they're doing very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, trees die, you plant them. I think all of those have survived so far, so knock on wood, we've been fortunate. I know the fall planting, the 165 trees or whatever, I think there's about 8 or 9 that are dead or looking a little bit stressed, and they'll have to be replaced, obviously, in the fall.
Yeah, well, they put gator bags on the 30 trees along Maple Row, and it's actually quite amazing because every single one of them is really, really in super good health. So we'll just hope it continues.
Right. Yeah, we did find a few other opportunities to Jim's point about having reserved trees as opportunities arise to plant. There was one area that we kind of just saw as we were looking at it, and actually this isn't up to date, so I apologize, but there's a few more trees to go in here. But there's an area on Prospect Farm Drive. There's an open space area that we have the opportunity to plant additional trees in that area to sort of cut down on mowing. But you know, as opportunities arise, we'd like to have the opportunity to plant them. A prime example of that is Stony Hill and Bluestone, where we had to cut down a bunch of trees. So we're planning to plant back about a dozen trees in that area just to sort of provide a little bit of a buffer to the homes that are in that area.
All right.
And I think you've seen the other ones, and
Right.
we did have a note on some of the basin plantings. I know our Public Works Director raised some concerns about some of the plantings that Tom Committa had proposed, in that if we're planning to retrofit some of the basins and do it as the pollution reduction plan, there may be structural changes to the basin that may sort of change what he had in there. So in discussions with them and the EAC, we came up with reserving 10 trees and 25 shrubs in all of those basins so that as we get a little further along to retrofit basins, that we go ahead and we have trees already reserved from the tree bank, so when we come up with a full design for the basin retrofits, we already have trees designated from the tree bank to pay for that. And that's kind of all I have for right now. There's a few cleanup items on here that we had noticed that we have to take care of and address, but that's kind of where we are.
All right, thank you, Jim. The thing that I'm quite pleased with is that in the early part of the year, we had made some significant, additions to the plan, and after an analysis, they were removed, but now they're basically all back in again. And this is especially true with Memorial Park, where we were especially interested in having cover around the parking lots and also around the volleyball, I think, and tennis courts and basketball courts. So I think it really, really looks good. So again, I want to thank you for all the work you did on this, Jim. It's a lot of work.
You're welcome. And also to Alan's point, we will have like a little bit of a cover letter explaining, and I'll prepare the spreadsheet of all the different plantings that are either have been planted last fall, contemplated in this plan,
Right.
or will be planted in the future. And on another note, I think I mentioned to Alan before the meeting, we did get another check for tree bank money from another development, approximately $78,000. So we have further funding to continue implementation of the long-range plan.
Yeah, I think at this stage, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's over 400,000 now, isn't it?
I'd have to check. It's over 300,000, I know that.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting an accounting of that because, the numbers change a little bit as we pay out or as monies come in, so.
Yeah.
That's good. So we can plant trees for a while. That's the bottom line, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments on the 2024 long-range plan? If not, we'll go to the next item.
Could I ask a quick question to Jim? So the steps forward, you're gonna finish this up in the next week or two. Are you gonna present it to the supervisors so they see it or no?
Yeah, I think we're talking about at the next July meeting, after we get it and double check some things. I know Tom Committa's office found that I don't know how to count trees, so they had to correct a few errors I had and information I gave them. But when we get a nice, clean plan that I think is good, it'll come back to the EAC to formally vote to request that the Board of Supervisors adopt it, and then it would be presentation at the Board of Supervisors meeting to hopefully formally adopt the plan.
Okay.
Yeah. That coincides with our wishes. It makes sense. So next EAC meeting, we will be talking to our members about the official plan, and then I think a week or two later, there's a board meeting. So timing looks good.
Great. Thank you very much, Jim, for all your help, and you too, Al.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
You too.
All right, the next item on the agenda is recycling. Possible fall collection date of September 28th. And Soumya's not here. I did receive an email saying that she's not feeling very well, but we can talk about that at the next meeting. Her and her daughter had some good sources for the pill bottles that we've been collecting, and she wanted to just briefly talk about that, but we can do that the next meeting. So, Alan, you want to talk about the possible fall collection date of September 28th?
Well, there's not much to talk about. Just selected a date. You can write it in pencil, not pen yet. We can officially adopt that date maybe next meeting. Just make sure, it's 3.5 months away, so people should have a clear schedule then. But yeah, it'll be just like the other ones.
All right, sounds good. Also, Jeanne has prepared an article. I guess we all had kind of a hand in writing it. And along with a photo, she's going to be sending it to the Bucks County Herald. So, and they're pretty good at printing articles like that. So we're having issues finding the January photo. So if anybody's here has that January
I got
photo.
your email. I haven't looked it up yet,
Okay.
but I think I have a picture of the one we did in January.
Yeah, I think you
My
might have
computer.
taken, or your wife might have taken, I'm not sure, but,
Yeah.
this is bizarre.
Is
Computers,
that- Yeah, that's pretty dramatic. That's,
Yeah, we did a lot of things.
uh,
Alan, did you get me the address for the styrofoam recycle? I can give
Yeah,
Debbie
I
Little?
sent it to you like a week ago.
Huh,
I'll send it again.
all right, because I got a phone call right before I came
Okay.
over. Yeah, they
All
got,
right, I'll
their
send it to
garage
you.
is overflowing with styrofoam.
All right, yeah, I gave out all the information.
They can't wait until
neighbor of
September.
yours? Oh, okay.
yeah.
They have to have a
Yeah, well,
personal pickup.
Yeah, computers are bizarre. I mean, I know I had this on my computer and viewed it. Alan said the same thing, and Jeanne said the same thing, and there's nowhere we can find it. So,
So
anyway.
if you can find it, you'll be a hero.
yes.
All right.
Okay, if there's no more comments on the recycling, we can move over to Birdtown EAC, and Jeanne will discuss briefly just some past and upcoming events. Jeanne?
Well, on this past Saturday, Newtown Borough had a welcome day. They do that every year. And Jeanne Filios, who is my counterpart in Newtown, she's chair of their Birdtown, she invited me to sit with her, or stand with her, or whatever, at the event. And so I was happy to do that. And there were tons of people. And I had Jim had gotten a lot of bird stickers, and the kids that were there just loved them. Kids love stickers. So it was very successful. And I appreciated Jeanne included me. And I may have even gotten a person that's going to help out with our Birdtown through that. So it was a pretty good success. We have no more stickers, except for the real little ones. So that's it. And there's
That's not Scout.
That's not
the-
Scout.
I'm sorry, but, we shouldn't be talking
Oh.
about that in the meeting.
Yeah.
but,
That other dog.
Alan's on Zoom, and we're
Taking
looking
care of
at,
my brother's dog.
yeah, okay. All right, so any other comments on Birdtown? If not, we'll move on to the next item. The next item is Park and Rec recycling recommendations. Kevin was going to, send us some info, but I think he had some new insights in this. And, well, what do you think we should do with this, Kevin?
Well, I'd like to have someone in the EAC involved until we can get maybe someone else that has more experience with zero waste events to kind of help guide them better. I'd be happy to volunteer as a liaison for sitting on some of their planning events, committee meetings. There's an agency that specializes in zero waste management, Pennsylvania, I can't remember what it is, PDR I think it is. And I've communicated with them, but they've been very busy, so I haven't heard back from them yet. So I'd like to introduce them to the township. I think it might be a good source for them.
Okay.
But I think for now, I'd be happy to be involved and help what I can do, whatever I can do.
All right, okay, all right. I don't think at this stage they've reached out to us, but anyway, they have, I guess their meetings are public, right? The Parks and Rec, so at any time, if you want to attend those and act as a liaison for us, I'm sure that would be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments as far as that's concerned?
Now, Kevin, if you need my help,
Okay.
you know, I love that stuff.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is to propose single-use plastics ban. Now, Ellen Snyder, we actually had a Zoom meeting with Elaine, I think it was McCarran, who was an EAC member in Newtown, who had a lot to do with the implementation of their single-use plan bag. And I think it was Alan and Dominique and Jeanne and myself. And it was very, very fruitful. And what resulted from that meeting was the future plan is to meet with Ellen Snyder. Ellen Snyder is one of the Board of Supervisors in Newtown Township. And according to Elaine, who did a lot of work on the ordinance, she said that the real guiding spirit was Ellen Snyder. So what our approach is going to be, I think, is at the end of the month, I think Ellen Snyder is going to be available, and we're going to try and set up a meeting with maybe myself as chair and Alan as co-chair and Dominique, who is really taking care of this project. And you know, pick her brain a little. The thing that I'm primarily interested in and the supervisors are interested in is how is Newtown's single-use plastic ban working? Supposedly, it's working pretty well, but we don't exactly know that. And when we talk to the board, which I think is not too far off in the distance, because I think after we talk to Ellen, I think in the very near future, that we should be able to sit down with the board and have a big presentation with maybe Penn Environment there, maybe Ellen Snyder from the Board of Supervisors in Newtown, and just lay out the real benefits of this program and answer any questions that the supervisors might have with the purpose of moving ahead, giving us approval to moving ahead with the creation of an ordinance in Lower Makefield Township. So I think that's our current plan. And, you know, Alan and Dominique, you might want to add some words to what I have said. And by the way, Dominique has been doing a lot of research work on this, and she's becoming quite expert at it, and that's really what we're going to be needing, somebody who really knows the answers. So Dominique?
Well, I wanted to know, is this good? I wanted,
Oh. Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Mine is good. Can you hear me, Alan? Yeah? Oh, that's it, yeah. What did you make of Ellen Snyder's answer to my email? She puzzled me.
Yeah,
I've got a copy of it, if you want to.
yeah. I'm not exactly sure I totally agreed with her approach. That's why I think it's important for us to sit down with her. And then eventually, I think she could be invited to a EAC meeting. The problem with coming to an EAC meeting is that she only will have about 10 or 15 minutes. We have lots of questions. So I think if we can meet with her, you know, someplace local and maybe spend an hour with her, I think that would be very important, you know, for what we want to do. She had suggested, I think, that firstly, you know, we immerse ourselves in all the information and things like that.
Yeah, she says to do the work.
Right.
What does she mean by to do the work?
Well-
I thought she was having her giving a presentation to us and to the Board of Supervisors. I thought that was part of the work we needed to do first.
I think so, but what she's talking, I mean, we have done a lot of research. We think, when she says do the work, be able to present something to Newtown Township, to Lower Makefield. I've read their ordinance. It's excellent, okay, and it's very comprehensive. So I think this is something that we would like to adopt in Lower Makefield Township. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. So I think basically what we should do is sit down with her. What I'm really interested in is that if they're having any issues or problems with their ordinance, and if they are, how they address them. Because that's what our people want to know. And before I take this, or we take it, to our Board of Supervisors, I want to have a clear-cut direction as to where we want to go and how we're going to explain this to the board. So I think by meeting with Ellen, I think we can answer all those questions.
So should I set up a meeting? Or are you doing that, Jim?
Well, the problem is we have 4 people, and getting 4 people sometimes together at one place at one time is a little difficult. But yeah, I'll talk to Alan and I'll see what Alan's schedule is. And, mine is generally pretty open any afternoon. And of course, your schedule. So yeah, you can probably start that, but why don't we talk after the meeting, maybe tomorrow, and we'll see if we can select some dates. And of course, if we have a meeting, anybody is, welcome to attend.
Okay.
All right, do we have, any more comments on the single-use plastics ban?
Sorry, just one more thing.
Sure.
Was what I sent you, was it useful or sent to everybody? Was it useful as documentation about positive?
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that later.
Okay.
It's too comprehensive. I need something really, really short to send to the Board of Supervisors. The approach we've been taking is that, firstly, the board knows that we're interested in this. Mm-hmm. And about, I guess, a week or so ago, at a meeting I was at, along with BOS Chairman John Lewis, I talked to John about this, and I reminded him that, we had discussed this several months ago, and that he was very interested in the progress Newtown had made, and if they're having any issues. And I told him we're very, very close to gathering all that information, and we're going to be reporting to him soon, and hopefully the board. And he seemed receptive. Okay, so. All right, unless we have any more comments on that, Alan, can you give us an update on the land use plans?
Sure. There were no new development plans or revisions to existing development plans submitted this month. So in that respect, it was quiet. We did submit a comment letter on the Wright Farm Subdivision, was it 47 homes? And you all got a copy of that. There were 5 comments, one suggesting a small pocket park within the subdivision where some very large trees there that they plan on cutting down, but they could leave them and make a small park around there. And that could be part of their required open space land. And there were 2 on buffers around the development. One on the need to address the tree replacement requirement, and the last one on the traffic assessment, which I won't go into, but it didn't match up very well with the Prickett Preserve traffic assessment, and they should. No reason for them not to. So that's a report, and I do want to quickly mention the stormwater ordinance. Kevin, you went to that meeting, the Planning Commission on
Monday,
11th?
yes.
Is that the 11th? 10th? No, 11th. Yeah. And what I heard, it was just a broad outline of what they plan to do, and they're going to update the ordinance, make it easier to read, combine the Delaware River and then the Chamonix stormwater ordinances into one, and several other things, and it sounds like a really good idea, and it's gonna make for a very strong stormwater ordinance, which will hopefully reduce flooding in the future. And this is the phase 2. Phase 1, the supervisors are gonna vote on next meeting, next Wednesday, which is just a couple of things, but they're really good, strong changes to our ordinance that'll reduce stormwater runoff. So as far as I'm concerned, this is all good. Did you have anything, Kevin?
I agree with those comments. I didn't actually read the document that was prepared. I just attended the meeting. So I didn't look at it in detail yet.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make comments yet, but later on this summer, they'll probably have something for us to look at. All right, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. Just one small comment on the Wright subdivision. According to the plan, they were going to cut down several trees, and they were also, I think, going to demolish those existing buildings. And that, to me, is almost like a crime. I mean, those buildings look like they're in excellent condition, but I don't know if there's anything anybody can do to maybe save them and then maybe rehab them and sell them as part of the development. I don't know, but it just seems kind of a shame. You and I had discussed that before as well.
It's a bit of a waste. 31 trees greater than 10 inches in diameter. So there's more trees back there than you think.
Yeah, it's just, I know part of that farm is already preserved, but, that's a shame. It's such a, beautiful vista, and that open space has been around here for a long time, but, I guess that's progress. But, okay, the next item is the EAC lecture and event series. And again, we're going to have a second Falconry exhibition on 10/5/24. I had talked to Township Manager, I guess, Dave Kratzer about this, and he said it was an incredibly popular event. We had over 110 people there, and there was a lot of people who had voiced their opinion that they would hope we would have it again because for one reason or another that they couldn't attend. So current plans are to have it again, and this time there might even be a little, maybe more attendees. But what we have to do the next time is, firstly, we never thought that many people would come, and parking was a little bit of an issue. So I think, have to have some kind of a plan that we could probably develop a month or so before the exhibition to make sure everything runs smoothly.
And no dogs allowed.
Pardon?
Right.
No dogs allowed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the worst scenario imaginable, some hawk is up in the air and picks up a small dog. That's not even funny. Forget I even said that. But
The dog goes after the hawk.
yeah. All right, Tree City, USA. In the meeting that Alan and I had with Jim Majewski and Dave Kratzer, we talked about Tree City, USA. And the EAC has already, to Soumya, analyzed several municipal tree programs. And the EAC, I think it was in the last meeting, took a look at those, and we agreed that Tree City is the poster child and the way to proceed as far as the adoption of a municipal tree program. So I've been doing a little preliminary work now, finding out what actually is involved in joining Tree City USA, and it's not super complicated. There are basically 4 parameters that you have to adopt in your township. And we have actually adopted, I'm not going to bore you with all the, what the items are, but the only one we haven't done is an Arbor Day celebration. And that's really an easy fix. So basically what you do is the township observes Arbor Day, they put it on the calendar, and we issue a proclamation. The Tree City people actually even showed sample proclamations, okay? And I read the one, and quite frankly, it's excellent. And then I had a further idea too. By the way, Tree City, planting trees is like motherhood. I can't imagine that our Board of Supervisors is going to take any exception with that. But the idea I had is that on Arbor Day, that we emphasize, the value of trees. We read a proclamation, and then we select a class, or we actually talk to the people at Pennsbury High School and have them select a class of students that for some reason has distinguished themselves. And we have that class on site, and we plant a tree in a public area and basically dedicate it to that class of students. So I thought that was, a pretty good idea. And in the meeting with Alan, myself, Jim Majewski, and Dave, all thought that joining Tree City was a really good idea. There's several benefits that accrue, but I think one of them is that it distinguishes your community. And I don't think there's any community that I know of anywhere in Pennsylvania or anywhere else for that matter that has a significant master tree plan as we do. So anyway, I think it's a real good fix. And the initial idea actually came from Dave Kratzer, because one of the first meetings I had with Dave, he said, with all the tree planting going on in this town, I'm amazed that, we're not members of Tree City. So basically it was an oversight. No one ever thought about it. So now we're thinking about it, and we think it's a great idea. Anybody else have any comments on Tree City?
Is it going to be on the sign when you get into the...
Yeah, well, that's it. I don't think there's any fees. We might have to pay for signage. I think we did for Birdtown too, I think, but I don't think it was a lot of money. But yeah, I think now we have the Birdtown signs coming into the town. So now we're going to have the Tree City signs. And they're actually quite impressive, because I guess it was 4 days ago I was biking up in the New Hope area, and when I was coming south from Center Bridge and entered the town, they have this big sign, Tree City, USA, and then it said something below it about Second Award or something. So I guess when you belong to Tree City, if you do some impressive things, with tree planting, you get a little badge. I guess it's like almost being a Boy Scout, when you do all these neat things, you get to wear these badges all over, which is kind of neat, so.
Well, I think planting 1,000 trees is,
That's what I was thinking too. You should have your reward straight away.
right.
Yeah, well, I think this council kind of has a goal of turning Lower Makefield Township into a giant arboretum. And one of the things that the gentleman who actually prepared the tree plan for us, we basically told him what to do, and he went and did it. His comment was, when he first came into the town, he said, "This looks like a leafy town to me." So I thought that was actually a wonderful compliment, so. All right, any more comments on Tree City? All right, the next item is the model energy ordinance, and Kevin just sent me an email before the meeting, and I guess was looking for some clarification. I think what we need, Kevin, is that you have a copy of the ordinance, and I think you made some initial comments that were very valid. What I think is that we just need those comments written up as a response to the Planning Commission. And I think Alan and I had some minor comments too, but this is more your field of expertise. So we had a couple of comments, but I think the ones most pertinent were the ones that you made.
So it'd be like track changes in the document?
No, not even in the document. I think what they they don't want you to change, they're not interested in changing the document. They're just interested in comments pertaining to the document.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, I can get something out in like a week or so.
That's super. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Now, the next item is solar for Lower Makefield Township. And this meeting that Alan and myself and Jim Majewski and Dave Kratzer had was pretty comprehensive. We went over about 5 areas. And at a previous meeting, we had talked about solar, and at that time, Dave said, well, you know, there's a lot of money available now, and the cost of solar is also coming down. So at this meeting, and I also believe that, you know, Kevin, you had talked to, you know, Dave about solar as well. So what Dave would like to do now is that we brought this topic up again, and he is now going to hire an outside consultant to come into the township and evaluate solar installations in Lower Makefield Township. And, you know, I think this is wonderful. One of the problems with our infrastructure is that the buildings are getting old. When you put solar on roofs, the roofs have to be, you know, up to date, strong, because these solar panels are, you know, pretty heavy. But there's a lot of different approaches to solar. I mean, up in Vermont, they have fields covered with these things. You know, they're not on buildings. So I would be very interested in what a consultant has to say about this. So hopefully, in a month or two, we'll have an answer as far as the solar is concerned. But I'm pretty excited about that. We do have a very, very small array on top of this building with, I believe, 10 panels. And the EAC actually won that maybe 15, 20 years ago because they were having a contest to see what municipalities could have people, the most people signed up for not organic energy, but renewable. That's the word I was looking for, Alan. Thank you. Renewable energy. And Lower Makefield came in first, so we had a big ceremony, and we've got this array on the roof. So,
Jim, on the subject, may I share this with you all? I just came across it and read it too. It's about, I don't know anything about it, but, and Alan, I can send you the link of this article. It's out from Penn Environment about solar APP plus. You heard of that?
Solar A.
Solar APP plus. I'll send you the link.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at this right now, what Dominique.
Yeah. What struck me was it says municipalities should adopt solar APP, so I don't know anything. I thought I'd share it with you.
Yeah, again, Dominique just passed this out, and I'm just taking a quick look at it, but it says new data, automated permitting speeds, rooftop solar adoption. And this, I think, was one of the items that Dave was also talking about. It's not only grant money, but it's the permitting process as well. But thank you for finding this. This is excellent. All right, the next item on the agenda is heritage tree investigation. And I think in the last meeting we discussed that Alan and I went out and measured kind of informally and not very technically a large hackberry tree that belonged to a woman named Michelle Stambaugh who lives in the northern part of the township. So in the meantime, I've been trying to get in touch with the coordinator of Big Trees of Pennsylvania, and so far I've struck out. I emailed him twice. I called twice and emailed, and I haven't had any response. So I don't know what's happening there, but I will continue my efforts, to get in touch with this gentleman, because there's also a couple of other trees in Lower Makefield Township that we're aware of that are quite noteworthy and could probably be included in the list of big trees of Pennsylvania. It's actually a very impressive booklet that they put out about every 5 years. And it lists trees by species in every county in Pennsylvania, and trees that have to be noteworthy for some reason or another. It's generally, size in the big trees of Pennsylvania. But it's really good reading. And the interesting thing is that when you look at the Bucks County, you see some in your own neighborhood. Also, to augment that, we're quite fortunate because I'm associated with the Pennsylvania State Master Gardeners, and I had a friend in the upper part of the county, and they had actually done a very, very comprehensive analysis of noteworthy large trees in Bucks County. And he actually gave us a copy of that, and I know Alan's very familiar with that too. So we're also going through that to see if, any trees are noteworthy that didn't appear in the big trees of Pennsylvania. So anyway, that's kind of an ongoing project, and hopefully I'll be able to get in touch with somebody. All right, Alan and I also touched on open space, a referendum for a ballot for open space at the meeting. And Alan, why don't you discuss, the results?
Well, it looks like there's going to be a resolution on the June 19th supervisor meeting to put a ballot referendum that would authorize up to $15 million for open space. And it looks pretty favorable right now. It would end up costing, if they took out all $15 million and purchased or got easements for open space, the average resident would have to pay $80 a year for 25 years. So that would be the cost to the township residents. So right now it looks good. I'm not convinced they don't need to first advertise this resolution before voting on it, but Dave Kratzer seems sure that they don't have to. So hopefully it can all happen on June 19th. And then we can just worry about it getting past November 5th by our residents. And Jim, you're going to be at the meeting next Wednesday. I'm going to send you a few slides that you can show them that should help.
Yeah, I plan on attending the June 19th meeting, although the discussion we've had with people regarding the resolution looks very, very positive, but I definitely want to be there, and Alan's prepared a couple of slides that for a past open space discussion that, just a couple of slides just listing the benefits for open space. And by the way, any past open space ballot referendum has always passed by about 70%. And as I like to point out to people, there's nothing other than open space in this township that people vote 70% for. So it's a very, very popular program. And the way the way the loans take place, it's really an absolute nominal cost because, for an individual homeowner, for $80 a year, you get to create or purchase easements or outright purchase of open space that's going to add immeasurably to the value of your home. So,
Yeah. And we should point out that if this passes, that just authorizes the supervisors to spend the money. They don't have to unless they want to. So it's not quite a done deal, but it's like, 80% of the way there, hopefully.
yeah, and we have recognized just off the top about 6 properties that we feel would be very important additions. And we're going to scrutinize the list and also input from people, from residents, and we're definitely going to add more items, to that list. So, but I think the important thing is what Alan said, that no money is borrowed until we have specific purchases in mind. There are actually agreed to, and then we will borrow the money that we need.
So, see what happens.
Okay. Okay, the next item is EAC and township newsletters. Paul, do we have anything going now? I don't think we have any newsletter that's going to be going
Well,
out
I'm going to
shortly.
put out a draft right after Father's Day to send around. You know, I was thinking about our falconry thing, the last recycling, and we could put out something on the plastic bag ordinance project, and I think there's one other thing, I just can't think of it right off the top of my head, to put into for the next issue.
All right, when do you foresee that coming out? I mean, that's, I think, the items that we talked about are
Probably
excellent.
be the end of next week, after I get everybody's input. You know, I'll send out a draft on Monday.
Okay, yeah, that's good, and I think those 3 or 4 topics you talk about were good. So, you know, the falconry is not till November, but at least people see and say, oh, okay.
We
So-
we have a picture
Put it on
from the
their
last
list.
one.
Last one.
Oh, did I say November?
You said November.
I meant October.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
October, yeah.
So,
But that's, you know, what I've been, you know, thinking about for the
All right.
next issue.
Send out another one around Labor Day.
Yeah,
Mention the falconry event and recycling.
and also for the recycling, yeah,
You
to
know,
remind people.
Oh,
Oh,
about a
ma-
half an hour ago, I sent you the Ray Bob packaging contact information in email.
Great.
so you should
Thanks.
have it.
All righty,
Paul, maybe I'll send you something on Birdtown.
okay, we can put that in too.
Yeah.
okay, the next item is odds and ends, the EAC webpage update. Now, I don't know if, I assume you was going to do a little work on that, but I don't think so much it's the format, from what people have been telling me that's an issue. It's just that there's a whole bunch of outdated stuff on it.
Yeah,
So, I don't know, I would entertain any suggestions as to what we should do with that, because this has been hanging for a long time.
yeah. Who do we contact to make any changes on it?
I think Katie McVan.
Katie McVan,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I talked to her and she said if we had any changes or documents we wanted added, just send them to her. She didn't sound like it was a big deal. So I may look through the webpage and see if we're missing any important documents.
And to get out the old stuff that's, you know,
Yeah.
obsolete and past and so on.
Yeah, okay, so Alan, you said you'd take a look at that then, when you talk to
Yeah, I'll
Katie?
take a look at that sometime in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, okay, because, I looked fairly, recently, and man, there's ancient stuff in there.
Oh, I made a list of what I thought shouldn't be there, and I think I'll send that to you, Alan.
All right.
Some of it probably has been taken care of, but I mean, it was years old.
Yeah, some of the stuff.
Okay, that sounds good. The last item on the agenda is open discussion. We already had some discussion on that stormwater management ordinance that, you were talking about with Kevin. So what do we want to do that? You're gonna take a look at that?
You talking to me?
Yeah, the stormwater management, you and Kevin, actually, I don't know.
Well, they just kind of gave a broad overview of what they had planned, and some specific details. But I don't know, Kevin, I didn't have the impression they wanted comments quite yet, because they're gonna take all this and then propose actual ordinance modifications, and I assume we'll be looking at those. I mean, if we had some outstanding comment at this point, we could send it in, but nothing popped up in my head so far.
Well, at the end of the meeting, Jim asked if the EAC had comments, and I was like, well, we haven't read it yet.
Okay,
and
so,
so I think he would appreciate some feedback.
okay, yeah, I can look through it and come up with some stuff, and I'll send it to you, Kevin, and you can make any changes or add anything, and then we'll send it to the group.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense. Now, educate me a little on this. Is this Are these suggestions or requirements coming down from the state?
No, it's a result of the flooding we had, was it last summer? Along, Main Street?
You mean up in Upper Makefield?
No, in
Oh.
No,
Lower
Maple
forget
Vale,
the
I
name
think.
of the
Oh, okay,
road.
Maple, yeah, all right, I remember that,
Maple
yeah.
Vale, yeah, and that triggered all this. And so they brought in this consultant, HRG, I think, and they're making some really decent changes, or at least proposing them. The round that's coming next Wednesday, the phase one, there's maybe 4 or 5 different things they're gonna change. But, I mean, the volume of stormwater that can leave a development site is gonna be really reduced because of this. It has to be only 80% of the pre-development. That means there's gonna be less runoff from these developed sites than there was the undeveloped site. And so, it's gonna have an impact. It's just too bad it didn't happen 20 years ago.
All right, but this is a Lower Makefield Township project.
Right, it's initiative just by our supervisors, I guess, as a result of the flooding.
Okay, now I get it. All right, thank you. All right, open discussion. Anybody have anything else that they would like to talk about before we end the meeting? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to end the meeting.
Second?
Okay. I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.